He's one of the baddest fighters out there, man. Honestly, his talent is different, and I've been in front. I've seen it firsthand. It's different.
Versa, whereas Teofimo was hitting him with different shots off the angle, that is kind of giving, Shakur Stevenson trouble. We'll see about that.
I think it'll just go like that. Shakur is very small too. And moving up in these weight classes can be problematic.
Adrien Broner issues a clear warning to Shakur Stevenson ahead of his dangerous fight with Teofimo Lopez. He explains that Lopez is a different kind of fighter, possessing sharp timing, speed, and real power that can change a fight in seconds. Broner believes this is not a safe matchup and says Shakur will be tested like never before if he underestimates Lopez.
He's one of the best. He's one of the best fighters out there, man. Honestly, his talent is different, and I've been in front. I've seen it firsthand. It's different. There's some different shit going on with that kid. He amazing, and I just still.
Shane Mosley believes the fight between Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez will come down to styles and the decisions made on fight night. He says Lopez will throw sharp, aggressive punches that could trouble Shakur and push him out of his comfort zone. Mosley also points out that Teofimo is not just a power puncher. He can box effectively when needed. According to Mosley, the matchup is unpredictable and will depend on which version of Shakur shows up and how he handles Lopez's pressure.
Teofimo and Shakur being signed up for a fight also. How do you see that? Is it a 50-50 fight? Is it, a style fight where it favors one or the other, in your opinion, Shane?
Yeah, it's a style where which fighter can impose their will on the other. Which can impose their style on the other style. So Shakur Stevenson has a very strong style where he can sit back and pot shot you and box and stuff like that, where Teofimo can also box and is very athletic and can get from side to side and can make things difficult for you as well. So what style is going to impose on the other is what we want to see.
So which style will impose? Is it something where the first rounds really will dictate, or?
I think you're going to need a couple of rounds, but the first round is going to be very interesting. Maybe you see some tails, but I think maybe 2 or 3 you're going to start seeing one leave the other. Because I don't think that, maybe, Shakur might show some different, if he has to go after Teofimo, he might show some different type of heart that we haven't seen or different type of fighting we haven't seen. And vice versa, whereas Teofimo was hitting him with different shots off the angle, that is kind of giving, Shakur Stevenson trouble. We'll see about that. So we just don't know.
Yeah, the thing is I think people overlook of Teofimo is he can box when he wants to. He's shown he has a slick style too when he wants to do that.
When he wants to do that. So if you have a slick style and you got power and you got the speed too,
yeah.
And you're fighting at 140, so let's see. I don't know if
Shakur Stevenson's preparation for the Teofimo Lopez fight reflects a fighter who understands the magnitude of the moment. His training camp appears disciplined and isolated, with full focus on sharpening his skills rather than outside distractions. There is a clear sense that Stevenson has approached this camp with seriousness and intent, treating the fight as a career-defining opportunity rather than just another title defense. His routines emphasize conditioning, timing, and repetition, showing a boxer who believes consistency wins on big nights. The locked-in atmosphere around his camp suggests confidence built through preparation, not bravado. Stevenson appears aware that this matchup demands precision and patience, and his camp reflects a mindset focused on execution rather than hype.
Ready to go? We about to fuck T.O. up.
We lock in. We lock in. This shit is the dream team.
Blair Cobbs offers a grounded perspective on the matchup, emphasizing Stevenson's mental sharpness more than any single physical attribute. According to Cobbs, Shakur's greatest strength is his ring awareness and his ability to stay calm under pressure. He sees Stevenson as a fighter who reads situations quickly and adjusts without panic. Cobbs believes this awareness will allow Shakur to land cleaner and more consistent punches against Teofimo Lopez. Rather than engaging in reckless exchanges, Stevenson is expected to control the moments, pick his shots, and frustrate his opponent. This view presents Shakur as a calculated technician whose intelligence could outweigh raw aggression on fight night.
Very disciplined. He's very disciplined. He's very strategic. He's very patient. And the way he boxes, he's very simple in his simplicity of how he executes. He does not have a whole lot of nonsense. And if Teo gets caught lost, like Teo tends to get caught lost in his mind sometimes. And sometimes he does things for no reason. If he does that consistently, which he will, Shakur will land more punches. And that's all it would be. It'd just be more punches. I wouldn't say that like Shakur would hurt him. You know what I mean? But I think it'd just go like that. You know, Shakur is very small too. You know, and moving up in these weight classes can be problematic.
Okay. Do you feel like Teofimo Lopez has a good chance in this fight? Or do you feel like, no, Shakur outclasses him? Is it a big spread apart? Is it that 8 to 4 rounds type of fight in your eyes?
I think it could be an 8 to 4 round fight. But Teofimo is very talented. Let's not forget that talent. Teofimo is very, very talented. But Shakur is a different kind of beast. You know, that's not even talent. That's something.
Gary Antoine Russell focuses on a specific version of Teofimo Lopez rather than judging him as a whole. He points to Lopez's performance against Vasily Lomachenko as the ideal blueprint. In that fight, Teofimo combined pressure with composure, staying disciplined while applying steady forward movement. Russell believes that when Lopez fully commits to this style, he becomes far more dangerous. It is not about reckless aggression, but controlled pressure that forces mistakes. Russell explains that Lopez's success depends on staying emotionally composed while pressing the action. When Teofimo rushes or becomes impatient, openings appear, but when his pressure is structured, he limits his opponent's options. Against someone like Shakur Stevenson, maintaining this balance becomes crucial. The fight, from this perspective, is less about power and more about decision-making under pressure.
Out in the ring.
It's 50-50. You know, in order for you to participate in this sport, you gotta have a high level of confidence. I feel like both of them has a high level of confidence, Teofimo Lopez and Shakur Stevenson, but styles make fights. Naturally, I think Teofimo Lopez is stronger than Shakur. Naturally, I think he has more athleticism than Shakur, and he got a good IQ on the sport itself. But Shakur, I feel like he's a more smarter fighter. He's a more technical fighter. You know, I'm not saying that he's a square or he's just a textbook fighter, but he's seasoned, he's poised. I feel like mentally he's more mature. Like, he don't go outside of the boundaries on taking risks. So a lot of times you'll see him fight somebody that could be stiff competition, and it'll wind up being a born fight to a degree. You know, that's why everybody was criticizing him for, oh, he's a born fighter. He's a careful fighter. And I feel like with Teofimo Lopez, he's going to be a careful fighter. You know, just because he's a careful fighter doesn't mean that he isn't punctual with how he do things. I think Shakur, he got a lot of this arsenal that he can use to make him be victorious, as well as Teofimo Lopez. You know what I mean? So it's a 50-50 fight, and it depends on what fighters show up the night of the fight. Right. You know, but if I had to give you my whole honest truth, if Teofimo Lopez show up and is ready to fight just like how he fought Lomachenko.
The discussion revisits concerns about Shakur Stevenson as he moves up in weight. Shakur has often spoken as if he is the smaller fighter, requesting rehydration clauses and suggesting he does not fully belong at higher weights. This stance surprised many, especially since earlier images showed him looking lean, strong, and well-conditioned, at times even appearing bigger than Teofimo Lopez during promotion. More recent photos, however, tell a slightly different story. Stevenson now appears slimmer and less filled out than before. While he still looks fit, his overall physical balance seems altered, raising questions about how his body is adjusting to the new division. Whether this change will affect his performance remains to be seen, as visual impressions can be misleading. Fight night will ultimately provide the answer.
Running around acting like he's small, like he's this tiny guy. He was like, I need a rehydration clause because I don't belong at 147, so I'll fight Conor Ben, I'll fight Devin Haney if you give me a rehydration clause, which to me sounds foolish because I've done an Ego Weight Watchers on Shakur Stevenson as well, and throughout this whole promotion, Shakur looks to be bigger than Teofimo, which could be surprising to some given the fact that Shakur is the guy moving up. He's the guy from lightweight. How he looked bigger than the champion at 140 pounds. But without further ado, let me show you these TO pictures. Boom. Very lean. You see the six-pack. He looks in shape. But the more recent picture, because this is new, but I got a more recent upload. And that picture, he looked kind of small to me. I don't know how y'all feel. Boom. You smell that? Hey, son, you see that? You can smell that? Look. Boom. Yeah, so he looked kind of small. He looked kind of small. You guys let me know in the comment section what you feel, but I've been doing this for a long time. Like, his head looked way bigger than his body.
Teddy Atlas enters the conversation by challenging the criticism both fighters have received over the years. He argues that many narratives ignore context and focus too heavily on fan expectations rather than what actually wins fights. Atlas believes both Stevenson and Lopez have been unfairly labeled based on selective performances instead of their full skill sets. In his view, boxing rewards adaptability and survival just as much as dominance. He reminds critics that not every fight is meant to be entertaining in the same way, and effectiveness should not be mistaken for dullness. Atlas reframes the debate by encouraging fans to judge fighters by results and ring intelligence rather than stylistic preferences. He also emphasizes that fighters evolve differently and that comparisons can be misleading. Stevenson's defensive mastery and Lopez's explosive offense represent contrasting philosophies, not flaws. Atlas suggests the fight itself will provide clearer answers than pre-fight opinions.
Teofimo at certain spots, he's avoiding this guy, he's avoiding that guy. You can't take those shots at these two guys. Definitely can't now. They are stepping up, and they are taking fights that a lot of people are probably surprised they took. Now, a lot of people will say style-wise, Teddy, style-wise, is this going to be a great fight? I don't know if it will. I mean, style-wise, I could see you having a little reservations, whether or not these guys will make for dynamite, they will make, for electricity. I don't know if they will, but I'll tell you what they will make for. Two skillful fighters, two talented fighters, two fighters that are at a high skill level that will compete in the sweet science. I mean, Shakur showed aggression in his last fight against Cepeda, being elusive while being aggressive, walking them down, fighting on the inside, boxing well, still being able to counter, still being able to control space, but also be able to go into tight quarters and not be afraid to show that he's good on the inside too, that he can make you miss and make you pay outside and inside. Shakur showed that. That was great. That was great, and people applaud him. I applaud him. We were sitting there, ringside. I was sitting there actually with your sister, ringside, watching that fight. And It was a terrific performance. Shakur showing that dimension, showing that attitude, showing that competitiveness, showing that dog like people like to show or like to talk about.
Despite praise from some analysts, Shakur Stevenson continues to face scrutiny heading into the fight. Critics question whether his recent performances have shown enough urgency and whether his resume compares favorably with other top fighters in the division. Comparisons to boxers like Gervonta Davis frequently arise, particularly regarding physical presence and finishing ability. Some argue that Shakur's methodical style leaves little room for error against explosive opponents. While these critiques do not dismiss his talent, they raise questions about how his approach will hold up against elite power and pressure. This discussion reflects the high standards placed on top-level fighters.
Stevenson, his resume is not really that deep if we're really being fair. And I would challenge y'all to compare it to Gervonta Tank Davis's resume and then really look at who they were, look at Tank's frame, look at Shakur's frame, and tell me what looks to be more special. But here you got Shakur being hoisted up and praised nonstop, but then a lot of the same analysts, when they talk about Tank, they're like, oh man, Tank's disappointing and Tank needs to fight someone and his resume's not that good. Who on Shakur's resume is just this world beater? People always talk about, oh, Tank don't have Hall of Famers and don't have good fighters. Ryan Garcia is a dangerous fight. He has one of the best left hooks in the game. He was undefeated. Undefeated fighters could be stubborn, and he's definitely bigger than Tank. Even Shakur, he would probably be bigger than Shakur, but it would at least be closer. So for me, it is more impressive seeing the smaller guy like Tank produce that type of punch and power and being there with the giants and guys like Frank Martin. To me, I would rather have seen Shakur, Frank Martin, like they were supposed to fight, but it fell apart over money, than the fight with Zepeda. Especially, like I said, Zepeda coming off 2 performances where he arguably lost both, if not one of them, and was exposed and dropped in the fight. Teofimo, I think that's a good name for Shakur Stevenson, but the fight hasn't happened yet. So we have to see what it is. But all this talk about Zepeda being, who is that good? Robinson Conceição really should have lost to Oshaki Foster. They rematched, and then he did lose. He's cool. And he lost to Valdez before Shakur fought him. And Shakur.
Closing the sequence, one analyst boldly predicts that Shakur Stevenson will embarrass Teofimo Lopez on fight night. This prediction is based on the belief that Stevenson's timing, footwork, and accuracy will neutralize Lopez's aggression. The analyst suggests frustration could become a major factor, with Lopez struggling to find clean openings. If Stevenson successfully controls distance and pace, the fight could shift from competitive to one-sided. While such predictions remain speculative, they highlight the confidence some observers have in Shakur's skill set. Ultimately, the fight promises to answer long-standing questions about style, discipline, and adaptability at the elite level.
Is going to go out there and embarrass Teofimo Lopez. And it's going to be promoted and it's going to be hyped up and talked about as a super fight, a really close bout, in which it really could be because both of these guys are pound-for-pound talents. But when you look at the styles of both these men, Shakur Stevenson has everything he needs to go in there and make this fight look absolutely just easy. Just like Teo is meaningless in there. And it pains me to say that. I'm not a big fan of Teo, but I like to see good bouts. Who doesn't want to see a good bout? Who doesn't want to see some good old back and forth action, especially when it's 2 guys, like I said, who are pound for pound talents. But what makes me really say this and make these bold claims is I'm always going to go back to that Jermaine Ortiz fight. And Teofimo Lopez, he doesn't know how to attack. He doesn't know how to cut. He doesn't know how to move and really cut off the ring. He likes to chase guys. And if you're chasing Shakur Stevenson, God help you. It's still an interesting bout. I'm going to encourage you guys to watch, but